Of twilight caresses the air. The river mist hangs sweet and fair. The evening swallows, they whisper their tune, dancing on the moon. Why have the stars called us here?
Welcome to Songwriters Alive with Tom Cooney. This is episode 26 in our series. We have a special guest today, and that's Jason Baker. Hello.
Thank you, Tom. I really appreciate you having me on Songwriters Alive. I'm really excited to be here.
It's great to have you. I met Jason via some songwriter groups and the Philadelphia Folk Song Society and Philadelphia Area Songwriters Alliance being one of them. That you're going to hear today in Jason's music, folks, is there's a directness and honesty of observation and sentiment in his lyrics. He doesn't pull many punches, and there's real clarity in observation and a real singularity of voice, and we're going to get on to one of his first tunes in 1 second, I promise. But I got to tell you, Jason Baker is a songwriter and performer from Burlington, Vermont. He started recording and performing in 2018. You're not going to believe it, how polished he is, even though he didn't start till 2018 formally. His release that year was American Dreams, followed by Common Man Blues in 2019. The Lighthouse in 2020. You're going to hear a lot of songs today from a new release, an EP called Liberty. And these things are all available on Spotify and Apple Music, and you can find them on Reverb and Reverb Nation and YouTube. He's also a member of the Folk Talk Trio with Rick Pagliari and Patty Shannon. They did a studio release in 2020, The Wonderful Folk Talk, A Guide to Traditional Folk Music, Volume 1. A lot of classic, traditional, early American tunes that are just really energized and fun to do. He was a 2019 New England Music Awards nominee for Best in Vermont and the American Songwriter magazine in November and December 2019 lyric contest. The honorable mention for the song Christmas Time Blues. Songs for Social Change 2019. I'm going to stop embarrassing you any second. Songs for Social Change 2019. Finalist and runner-up for the song, one of my favorites, Something That's Never Been Done Before. And he composes and performs the theme music for Vermont Talks podcast. Nice acoustic picking in the background if you listen for it. Very nice stuff. Again, it's just great to have you here. And what were you thinking of sharing with folks for your first tune?
Well, actually, I was going to go through the tunes that I had just released a few months ago for Liberty. It's an EP, 4 songs EP, and the first song I was going to play was written. A lot of my songs are. This is part of my songwriting process. Are written on this ukulele right behind me here, that you can see over my left shoulder. And this was, I decided on the advice of some of the folks from the Writing a Song That Matters retreat with the Dar Williams folks, suggested that, in fact, I think it was Dar, suggested keeping it on the ukulele. And so I recorded it that way. But I'm going to play on the guitar now. And this is a song that was surprisingly actually written July 4th of 2020. You might think it was written January 7th of 2021, but instead, no, it was possibly. So I think I'm a genius and prescient, and maybe I'm psychic or something. Who knows? But you tell me after you're hearing the song. This is called "The Bigotry Blues." They don't like blacks and they don't like Jews. They don't like me and they don't like you. They don't like jazz, they just can't swing. They have so little knowledge, it's a dangerous thing. They don't know nothing and they never did. And everything they do is what God forbid. Yes, God forbid everything they do. Jesus wouldn't like them, and they haven't a clue. We did not see it coming. 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 The bigotry blues. They want respect but are disrespectful. They can't accept that they're not successful. They don't know what they're talking about. Well, that don't stop them screaming and shouting. They want war and they want it now. Hating everybody, that's their sacred cow. I guess we should have known from the war drums drumming, but I swear I did not see it coming. We 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 did not see it coming. The bigotry blues. We did not see it coming. We did not see it coming. Look what we lose. We won't get to choose. We did not see it coming. The bigotry blues. We did not see it coming. The bigotry blues.
Oh, wonderful tune.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Very honest and very hard hitting.
Well, it's funny. I went, I was going for a laugh at first. It's because it's an old joke, for me. I don't know. I think it may be a regional thing because I grew up in Jersey with that joke.
True.
But we actually had to deal with skinheads and stuff like that from Atlantic City, where I was in Ocean City growing up, and we had to deal with actual skinheads and things like that. So it became a current kind of thing. Yeah, I did not see that coming, and. But at the same time, obviously the topic is dead serious, and I think maybe that's my way of. What's that?
And the topic's back again, very sadly as well. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I kind of noticed it. I think before the whole January, it was hard not to notice people's reaction to the Black Lives Matter protests, and to see how emboldened all these racists were. And their emboldenedness, or whatever their boldness, new boldness was pretty disturbing already, and it's only gotten worse since. So that's actually kind of, at first I thought, well, this song may not be. Part of the problem with writing topical songs is their shelf life. They tend to go stale a little bit if in some cases, or they didn't. They don't ring true anymore. There's parts of them that don't work. And you can always rewrite. That's the other thing. I saw a wonderful rewrite this past weekend by Ben Grosscup from the People's Music Network of Phil Oakes' "Love Me, I'm a Liberal," and it was a fantastic rewrite. And best part was he kept the last verse in it. It didn't change anything.
Yeah,
it was like, oh, that's why I'm turning you in, and it really rang true still today. And it's just getting so much, the fact that even a song like that, just a few updates of few verses, and then parts of it are still absolutely relevant. That proves the sort of strength of some topical songwriting. But again, freshness is an issue, and strangely, I was concerned about releasing it because I wasn't sure it would be so fresh. But then a couple months later,
it's a very good song, and there is the comic wink there, but it's a dark comic wink. But those forces are always going to be around, and they ebb and flow, and they are flowing right now. And it is again, evil flourishes when good people do nothing, and that's one of the things the artist does to remind folks, hey, it's everyone's responsibility to stand up, not just mine as the artist. Let's all get together, do the right thing.
It is. I mean, that is. I just think I just posted on my own Facebook page this quote from Woody Guthrie that I saw somebody else post. I'm like, that's brilliant. Of course, is I just committed. He just said, I'm just committed to writing the kind of songs that make people want to help.
Yeah.
And it's like that's a good goal. Like if I think that was part of the writing of a lot of the songs for Liberty, and for the Lighthouse. My previous album actually was trying to figure that happened right after the pandemic. The writing all happened right after the pandemic hit us,
Yeah.
and so it was a full April of writing songs. And I think the idea was to try and be empathetic and figure out what people wanted to feel or wanted to hear, what they could use to hear. They could use to hear that things are going to be okay, but they could also use to hear the truth about, this, our governments have failed us, and so I wrote both songs,
Yeah.
I first wrote all the heavy, deep and real stuff, and actually I shopped it around to songwriters who I trust. I actually asked a bunch of people, and about 4 or 5 people responded. I actually just went with whoever responded, honestly. But they responded with great feedback in every case. And one of them was a fellow you might know named Tom Smith from New Hampshire. He's just kind. He was a brilliant songwriter, brilliant performer, and one of the kindest people you'll ever meet. And he so kindly put it this way. He said what songs he liked. He said what songs didn't hit him as well strongly. Which, it's a very kind way to put it. And then he said, so I really like these songs here. And I just wonder, are you going to write any uplifting material for the album?
It's funny because it was one of my observations too. Is when I was listening to all your wonderful stuff, a guy remarked about it early on in our episode how honest and direct you were, and you don't pull any punches, and you don't pull anything over your eyes. You see what is there, and you're a great investigator. I have in my notes in front of me right now, after listening to the Lighthouse release, the wonderful Lighthouse release, I have in quotes after it, the pandemic release. You're very observational about what was going on there. But
it 100% is a pandemic release. It's all about it. There are songs in there that aren't directly about it because after about halfway through, it is sequenced heavy, deep, and real up front.
Yep.
And then after I think a very apropos cover which I add to it, which is the St. James Infirmary Blues, which is, I think that's going to be an important thing for full albums for me in the future is to add, to make sure there's a traditional song on there. But after that, the album is intended to sort of veer into more lighthearted territory and more reassuring songs. And that I think hopefully it works if people listen to the whole thing, that they won't get all bummed out.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's a great balance, and you do write a good broad variety of stuff. Hey, we're with Jason Baker, folks. This is Songwriters Alive with Tom Cooney. The new episode airs the first Monday of every month, live streams on Rocking the Valley YouTube. Thanks to Steve Jones and everyone at Rocking the Valley for the extra distribution avenue. And then it lives there in the Songwriters Alive playlist, and it's on my site, Tom Cooney on YouTube, in the playlist called, believe it or not, Songwriters Alive. You'll see these past episodes. And we are with Jason Baker from Burlington, Vermont. And Jason, what were you thinking of sharing with?
The next song is the second song on my EP Liberty, and it's called The Game Is Over. When you play Monopoly, I wonder if you can see the way you have to be to friends and family. So you win and own the board. When you make that final score, everyone heads to the door. No one wants to play anymore. The game is over when you have it all. When you have it all. All those plastic houses and 12 big red hotels, railroads and utilities, all deeds and cash as well. Make you start to feel you could do anything that you like, but then you go too far when you expect that is real life. Now that you have all that cash, could you put your money to the task? Where's your superhero mask? We could use someone like that. When all you want is more, but you really don't know what for. All you do is hoard. Everyone else is just poor. The game is over when you have it all. When you have it all. The game is over when you have it all. When you have it all. All that's left to do is fall.
Wonderful. That's the second song on Jason Baker's release called Liberty. And very beautiful and insightful tune with some nice guitar picking there.
Thank you.
We're going to pop real quickly and take a look at Jason's Apple Music page. And as you can see here, all of his stuff is out here. We've got the Liberty release that he's playing from right on top. And the other ones that we mentioned that were American Dreams from 2018, Common Man Blues from 2019, The Lighthouse from 2020, and also from 2020, the Folk Talk, A Guide to Traditional Folk Music, Volume 1 with Rick Pagliari, Jason Baker, and there was a third person on that release. That one was...
It's Patty Shannon. She appears on the... We originally, Rick and I were just doing that album, and we really we added Patty partway through because we had started with... at the beginning before the pandemic, and we had got that cut off. And then actually we decided that Patty fits so well. We've released a second EP, another folk talk EP called the Folk Talk Trio Live at the Underground. We did a live stream from a studio called The Underground in Randolph, Vermont. And we selected some tracks from that, and we also released that.
That's cool. As you can see, folks, real quickly, a lot of wonderful Americana and early folk tunes here. There's even yodeling and great back and forth singing, and like the old Chisholm Trail and cowboy singing.
Oh yeah, well.
And
these are songs. So Rick Pagliari is my mentor. He basically kind of made this constant decision that like he was going to I was helping him out with some tech stuff, and he made this constant decision that he was going to mentor me. And I don't know why he decided to be so kind to me about it, but he's the guy who learned at the feet of Pete Seeger and Utah Phillips and Jimmy Driftwood and all these amazing people. The version of John Henry we do is totally straight from Pete Seeger. Pete Seeger, towards the end of his life, changed his key from C to... Now here's a funny thing. Rick said he played it with Rick he played that song with Pete like 4 or 5 times. And the first time he played it in the wrong key. He played it in G, and Pete's like, well, Pete went along with it, but it turns out he does it in C. So then they learned it in C. And the last time he played it when Pete was older, he said, I changed it. All right, I'm going to do my version of a Pete Seeger voice, which is probably terrible because it's me doing Rick's version of Pete Seeger. Well, Rick, I've decided to change certain songs to make it more incisive so that I'm getting exactly the heart of the song, and I'm making it a little easier to sing since my voice isn't so good anymore. And so he was actually redoing songs in different keys and different arrangements to make it easier to play and sing. And I feel that I was really I feel really happy to be able to work with someone like Rick and work with someone like Patty, and who come from different backgrounds. Rick comes from the background of being a folk musician his whole life. Patty is a professional country musician. She is a Berkeley trained bass player and singer, and she's absolutely top notch, and just absolutely gigs everywhere. She just gigs, and so we're just lucky to get her at all. So we're really excited. I'm really excited to be able to put this together, and it's intended to be in the spirit of the old folk revival trios. That's essentially what it's about. It's intended to capture that same spirit.
Now hear the sound of that old-time banjo, guitar, mandolin, and fiddlers too. We like to jam, man, anywhere we can. This here's an open stage. Let's hear a song from you. Sometimes we begin to question, like, when that rain come pouring down, why are we here when we should be there? Yeah, it comes back to us when we hear this sound. We sing, we don't know any better. We just like the way it sounds. We can't help but to love it when the chorus comes around. And when the pickers get to picking, then we get up and we get down. Yeah, we don't know any better. We just like the way it sounds. Big finish. We don't know any better. We just like the way it sounds. Thank you, folks. We're Folk Talk.
That's wonderful. Don't forget, folks, there it is, A Folk Talk, A Guide to Traditional Folk Music, Volume 1, Rick Pagliari and Jason Baker.
And Folk Talk Trio, live at the Underground.
Yes,
if you look for it, it's out there.
I was mesmerized by the solo flute version of Wayfaring Stranger with the water in the background.
Yeah, so that's Rick playing the Native American flute. Another thing he learned from a mentor of his. Rick learned from a lot of mentors, and he felt it really important to pass that stuff on to me, and now to Patty, and to everyone. And I think the flute was a great idea. We actually used that in a live version that Patty sings. That's a regular version of the song, but he takes a Native American flute solo. But I think we were trying to, in the original album, we discussed it, and one of the things I said is I didn't feel comfortable singing it just because I didn't think my voice sounded right for it alone.
Yeah.
And I can't remember what the reason was, but I liked this. He suddenly just grabbed his flute and played it, and I'm like, and I was playing along at first, but then I just like,
isn't it great?
Let's just have the flute. Let's just have the flute. The melody is so important. That's the thing. I realized that the folk part of it is the important part of the tradition that we want. It's like, I love that melody, I finally said. And finally, that was it. He pulled out the flute and played it. And that was where we
played that song 2 Decembers ago at my mom's funeral up in Connecticut. And I was playing it solo. I have a younger sister who was a great vocalist, but she didn't feel like she was up to performing during the funeral.
Understandable.
And I got up there and started playing it, and she came over and started singing with me. I went to the harmony and contrapuntal line, the call responsing, and she just took it, and the song is magic. You're right. It's a magical tune. Yeah.
Well, once we have version. If you check out the Folk Talk Trio album, we have a live version of Patty singing it, and I'm singing it.
Traveling through this world of woe, there is no sickness, no toil or danger in that brave world to which I go. I'm going there to see my father. I'm only
I'm singing the harmony with her on the on the refrain, and it works much better. She's just got such a beautiful voice. You think you really need a beautiful voice to carry it. I'm sure you do have a great voice, but I mean, it's I think it's it is a spiritual. It does require some intense, on the part of the singer. There has to be some style brought to it, and I wasn't bringing any style, at least at first. I think I'm getting more into singing the backup vocal with Patty because it's such an honor to sing with such a killer vocalist.
I found with that song, whenever I do it, and you know this, and probably with some of your own originals, that there are some songs that you have to 100% commit to emotionally each time you play it. And for me, Wayfaring Stranger is like there. It's like that for me. You have to go into the deep end of the pool and just go. Let it go.
The song I included, the cover, the traditional song I included, a traditional, I guess we'll call it public domain traditional, unknown authorship song I included on my on the Lighthouse, St. James Infirmary Blues. That's one where live I feel the same way. I feel that there's a point where I think I'm working on the performance of it to really enhance that. But I think at a point where where I get to the vocal, where it's the actual, here's what this guy, it's an intro, and then here's what this guy said. I jump up a little bit in my voice. I push up a little both the tone, the actual note and the emotion, because it's this guy who's drunk, who's supposed to be screaming in a bar, Yeah. It's not a polite song in any way. It's a guy, basically screaming about healthcare. In a bar, and that's what I finally realized is this guy drunken. It's a drunken rant against healthcare.
You got to go there.
And so there's got to be some element of desperation involved. We're talking about death,
Yeah. As you can see on the screen, folks, we're looking at the Lighthouse release that Jason's referring to, which is track number 5 here at St. James Infirmary. We're really quickly remember that when you go up to Spotify or Apple Music or other places and you look at the releases, make sure you look at the 4 or 5 major releases he's put out. The Lighthouse is one of my favorites, and I think it's going to be one of your favorites as well.
I'm glad to hear that. One of the things I've learned about recordings as you go on is you learn a lesson every time you make a new recording, at least one, or if not several. And so, like on my America Dreams, I learned, you should edit yourself. So it's a sprawling thing of 22 songs that are basically lo-fi demos. And honestly, I like the songs, but I probably could have cut that in half, and it would still be might be a better album. And the recordings weren't terrible, but it was what I could do with a single mic and me playing and a few overdubs. But I learned from that how to do more that's kind of where I learned how to do overdubs by myself. And so that carries over into Common Man Blues.
I tell you, that's an amazing first release, Jason, the American Dreams. And
really?
I hear what you're saying about it. It's your first time out of the gate. It's not going to be perfect, of course not. But there's the gems on there are incredible. The title track, American Dreams, is honest, and again, it shows your consistent ability to see in an honest way what is there, dark or light. The song, A Locally Specific Blues, another turn on a phrase, which is just wonderfully interesting. Hold On to Truth is a very positive tune from that release. And so don't forget, folks, each and every release of Jason's is something worth going back and looking at. They're all wonderful.
We do, Rick really likes Hold On to Truth. We actually have played that together live. And here's the thing, Locally Specific Blues was probably the first real song I completed back in 2017 when I started writing. That was, it stuck out after a while. I wrote, in 2017, I decided I was going to start writing songs or not. Because I've been playing guitar since I was 14, but I tried writing songs when I was in a band. I'll tell you more about that later. But and then I finally said, I'm going to write songs. And I wrote 90 songs in a year. And it was only in 2018 after I was in a duo and we did a few of them. It was only after having to do a solo gig because it was a snowstorm and the other guy couldn't show up. I did 2 hours of all that stuff you see there, and more. And I realized, I have some songs I have this group of songs that hang together.
Yeah.
You know, not all the songs are like that. Some of the songs are jazz songs or other genres. But I seem to have this thing, and everyone's like, hey, it's folk music. I'm like, okay, great. Because I'm playing it on acoustic instruments. I guess it is.
I have to ask you, were you surprised because you said you didn't seriously attack songwriting until 2017? Were you surprised at how the floodgates opened and the volume of stuff that came out? Because that's an amazing thing you're saying.
I forced it out. You got to understand. Okay, so I one of the things I did was I boot camped myself, and this was actually, for some reason, April seems to be the month I just write a whole bunch of shit.
And I noticed
Can I say shit on your podcast, by the way?
October seems to be the month you release a lot of shit too. So
Right, exactly. It's because recording seems to happen in September, August and September. I don't know what it is. It seems I'm trying to break my cycle, by the way, but that's a different story. But. Yeah, I think I had to force it out at first, because I think one of the things was I wasn't sure how to do it, and I kind of fumbled for the first couple months. I'm like, I think I know what I'm trying this and I'm trying that and I'm trying more, and I kept looking online for more. I learned to do this from online, so I'm just a guy who learned to do this online. Yeah. I just looked online. There's loads of resources. A zillion people will tell you how to do it, and a lot of the advice is the same. And one of the most important pieces of advice was just write stuff. And there was a guy who popped that really, Jonathan Mann is his name. He's on YouTube. He writes a song a day, and he's been doing it for like 14 years. So he has like thousands of songs now, and most of them are shit. And he admits that. Yeah. But he says, but he does it every day, hell or high water. And some of his songs are world famous, and he's gotten money from it. His song was bought and used by Steve Jobs for the first iPhone release to explain the death grip problem. Yeah. He explained it better than Steve Jobs could, so he just bought the song and said, this guy did a better job than me. That's what this guy did.
Well, I tell you, this is wonderful, because this is something that each songwriter that has been on the series has reaffirmed, that it's a craft, and like any other craft, working with wood, working with oil paints, you get better by doing it. You do it, you refine it, and then the good stuff will come out more often, just like you're saying.
There was a study that was relevant to this about that somebody did about it was pottery classes, and one class was taught make each pot as carefully as possible and make it perfect, and the other class was taught make as many pots as you can in this week. And at the end of, I think it was at the end of a month actually, they had everybody make one pot, and then they judged the pots, and the blind judging, so the judges didn't know who. And the people who made lots and lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of the same vases or pottery or whatever it was, they made much better pots. They made much better stuff. Not much better, but it was noticeable that it was just easier for them. Mm-hmm. And so that boot camp thing I did, I just said, all right, I'm going to do this for a month. I'm going to write a song a day for a month. And I had my hook book that I was already writing weird phrases in or whatever that caught my ear. And then I used an online thing to generate strange phrases and seeing what caught my eye and write them down and then star them. And then, so I went through a process where I filtered out ideas until something hit and made me write something, anything.
Got it.
Literally, I think that's the biggest part for me. And I think is not the organizing of anything and the editing of anything and coming up with music. No, it's the spark of an idea that makes you think of something else. One thing has to lead to another. There needs to be some sort of semiotic connection in ideas that leads you to another, to say something else, even if it's a stupid rhyme. So whatever it is.
How has that changed since those early days where you were using different mechanisms to help stimulate things? How's that changed?
Yeah.
How much has it changed?
It's changed recently a lot more. So one of the things that I felt I needed to do was write something hell or high water, and even if it ended up stupid, I was going to finish it. And that was a great practice to get the exercise of writing a song, including all the way down to the editing and scansion and all the things that you need to do to make a song even successful, even on its own terms. There's plenty of songs that I'm not going to share with somebody because they're goofy and stupid, and they're not. The idea is weird, or it's realized so oddly. You realize, no one's really going to care or get this, and you just decide for yourself, whatever. I put those. I actually have a file called Meh. 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 I keep it around because you reuse stuff. You reuse lines, you reuse chord progressions and little turnarounds, and you reuse stuff all the time. So you keep it in case. You never want to know when you want to rework it or grab something or remember it. If it's there, you'll remember, and you're like, oh yeah, that was where I did this weird thing. I'm going to pull that out and use that in this turnaround on this other.
Those mechanism type things are still around, but it sounds like it's becoming more of an organic thing as time goes by.
Yes, essentially, I stopped forcing myself to do it and started focusing on. It became easier, and one of the things, it becomes easier to become inspired by something that you're just hit with. You start to recognize more easily. That's the biggest, I think, block for many songwriters is recognizing when you're being inspired. If you're sitting there daydreaming, write about your daydream.
Yes.
If you had a thought about, I'm going to kill the boss, I'm going to kill the boss, write that song. Don't have to show it to anybody. Definitely don't show it to your, whatever, but don't throw it to your boss. But I mean, I think you can write those things because you got to start letting your brain go. Like for me, writing was always a problem of pause. What do I write next? And like take an hour to write a sentence. I never, when I was younger, wrote quickly. And so it was getting over that. And the other part was the second part is getting over feeling precious about it. Most of the stuff you have to understand isn't that good.
That's true.
And so now I look more for great ideas that are in a prompt.
Or strong.
And so to me, there has to be a real good, strong message that I'm trying to convey.
Your point is valid, and this is great for all other songwriters, especially the novice or returning songwriters. And you've heard this on the other shows as well, is that when the idea or the sentiment or the insight or the feeling comes, again, you're not going to block it. You're going to let all the filters out of the way, but you're also going to go pick up a pen right then, right there. Not say I'm going to remember exactly what this is later, because you won't. It's gone. It'll be gone.
No, you must record it in some way. Usually writing it down on a pen and paper is the best way. Typing, it takes a little too long sometimes for the brain-mind connection, but if you're fast, great. If you got a phone, you could type it in, but you could just as easily hit a recorder and sing it in. Definitely record. Yeah, it's so easy to lose it. It's so easy to lose an idea.
Can I ask you? And so, it also sounds like the lyrics are the first things that come more often for you, it sounds like. Because you just mentioned
since it was the biggest problem. Yeah, since it was the biggest problem for me all along, that's where I started. And so, yes, that is my main method. Although, specifically at a certain point, the songwriting stuff will tell you, change that up. Start with a melody. Start with this. Start with that. And I have a friend who's really the person I kind of learned songwriting from. His name is Guy Henderson. He's handed me a piece of music and said, "What do you got?" And I wrote a sea ballad to it. Coming home from the sea. Home from the sea was what it was called. And it turned. He changed maybe a couple words, but it turned out really great. And so it was like, okay, I can do this I can write to a melody. I didn't know I could do it before, but you can. And then, basically one of the things that's important is you do start to get in a rut and write the same stuff. So you do need to change it. I got a ukulele. It changed the way I wrote songs to add more jazzy chords. Yeah. I started playing harmonica. It changes the melodies you sing. If you start that way, if you start a song, it has a more old time feel because it's a pentatonic scale or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah.
There's the thing. There's any type of thing to send you in a direction. Maybe it's a limitation, even.
Yeah.
But whatever it is, that puts you. As long as it puts you in a direction, sends you. As far as the words coming and getting it down on paper, if you don't do that quickly, and you do lose it, there's losing it. But there's also, you're immediately, as soon as you're doing that, you're starting to give parts of your brain another job. There's the editor that's always, and you don't want the editor to stop you. Yeah. But you're already giving your editor a job like choose a rhyme scheme.
Yeah.
Or choose a iambic pentameter. It's the one everybody knows, but it's like you don't know. Usually people don't actually consciously choose that, but you're choosing a rhythm pattern. You're choosing a rhyme scheme almost from the very get-go of writing.
Exactly. Yeah.
So let your brain let that be enough for the editor for now, but let it flow, and you can always cut shit later, change it, cut anything. You can never have to show anyone a song. John Prine said it, I was asked about inspiration, and he said, I don't go looking for, where do you find inspiration? He goes, I don't find inspiration. I go to the office. I have an office. I have a typewriter. This was in like a late 80s interview, I guess, or whatever. Maybe he used a typewriter forever. I don't know. But he says, I sit at my typewriter and I write 10 songs a day. He goes, after about a week, I got maybe 2 or 3 good ones.
Yeah, it's true.
And if John Prine is saying that, first of all, I want to be the guy who hit that recycling bin, man. But you know, if John Prine is saying that, then you have to understand that the process is really an iterative thing that you have to keep trying and keep doing more and more and make sure you and edit prodigiously. And that's where other people come in, other songwriters who are going through the same thing, or other musicians. That's where they come in handy, because they can say, what are you doing? That's weird. Or I didn't get that.
Yeah, true.
Or I love this.
Yeah.
I love that. Can you do more of it again?
Well,
you know, that's where that really, really is so valuable, because then you're like, okay, all right, now I have another, because even a single other perspective, you know, that we haven't even gotten to co-writes. I've only done a few co-writes. It's not a big thing, but I've had a great time doing it. The Dar Williams people kind of have that option each time, and each time I've done it, I've been absolutely floored. Yeah. Interestingly, each time the other person has taken care of the lyrical part, which made my life super easy. And they're like, and I ended up being the person who arranges and performs it, the song, and that's worked out well, actually. Strangely, the songs sound great, and they're doing. And as far as I'm concerned, they're doing the heavy lifting.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing your journey and a lot of insights on the songwriting craft. It's a big part of the show. It's great that we can get an artist in here and you learn about their artist, their history. You can find out where you can go find their music, where you can buy their music, and where their social presence is. But again, the extra sprinkle, and the purpose of this whole series has been to talk a bit about the craft. So it's always wonderful to hear it. Again, folks, we're with Jason Baker, and this is Songwriters Alive with Tom Cooney. The new episode premieres the first Monday of every month at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on Rocking the Valley YouTube, and then it lives there in perpetuity in the Songwriters list for Songwriters Alive, and on my YouTube page, Tom Cooney, in the Songwriters list, Songwriters Alive, and I actually do a premiere from that one very soon after the original launch here. Again, Jason is from Burlington, Vermont. He started recording and performing in 2018 with his release of his debut, American Dreams, followed by Common Man Blues in 2019, The Lighthouse in 2020, and he's playing a lot of songs from his most recent EP, Liberty, a 4-song original folk music song roots with topical topics. He has won multiple awards for his songs, and rightly so. The 2019 New England Music Awards nominee for Best in Vermont, American Songwriters November-December 2019 Lyric Contest honorable mention for the song Christmas Time Blues, Songs for Social Change 2019 finalist and runner-up for the song Something That's Never Been Done Before. And for you Vermonters, you Ethan Allen folks up there, he composes and performs the theme music for Vermont Talks podcast. You'll hear his fine picking in the background. You can find his stuff on Spotify and on Apple Music. You can also look it up on YouTube Music and YouTube, and on Reverb Nation. That's Jason Baker, just like it sounds, Jasonbaker. We're very glad that he's our guest this time. Jason, what's the next tune you were thinking about doing?
So this song it comes from, the songs can come from anywhere, anything. This came across my Facebook feed as a quote, and it turned out when I looked into it, the quote came from a Captain America movie and then comic book. But originally, the writer of that comic book had borrowed it rather liberally, apparently, from Mark Twain, also known as Samuel Clemens. And so this originally was the original quote that this was, this song is inspired by. It was from Mark Twain or Samuel Clemens. And in the desert, a river flows, and along it, all that grows slowly works to claim the dried out land. in a desert made of lies. It's a river that supplies a way to overgrow the shifting sands. I will put my roots down, I will stay the year round. I will let the river teach me how to live. The waters and the sun are enough to get it done. I will give all of the fruits I have to give. Like a tree by the river of truth, I will stand. Like a tree by the river of truth, I will stand. Like a tree by the river of truth, I am anchored by my roots. Like a tree by the river of truth, I will stand. Where one tree grows, others too will surely put down roots to drink the truth directly from the land. The desert will recede as they further plant the seeds, sow the seeds of truth with their own hands. And a forest will become in a place where there was none. The desert will be but a memory. There will be no way to tell our grandchildren of the hell the land we live in nearly came to be. Like a tree by the river of truth, I will stand. Like a tree by the river of truth, I will stand. Like a tree by the river of truth, I am anchored by my roots. Like a tree by the river of truth, I will stand. Like a tree by the river of truth, I will stand. Like a tree by the river of truth, I will stand.
What a wonderful, positive song, and I love the imagery on there. Great use of a river in a desert, and it's great. And our last guest, David Kleiner, member of the Philadelphia Area Songwriters Alliance, is a great fan of everything must be tactilely based, and you must have a lot of concrete images and stuff. It's a great episode with David Kleiner, episode 25, and Jason does that a lot too. You can really touch and feel a lot of his songs. It's really neat stuff.
That song is. Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
That song is it's one of the songs that I got in fact, all three of these songs I was privileged that I played for you today. I was privileged to be able to workshop with the Writing of Songs That Matters crew, with Dar Williams and her people, and it really made a difference in the development of the songs for sure. There's no ways around that. Getting help from other songwriters is possibly the strongest message I could send to anybody trying to write songs.
Yes,
is work together.
Very much.
All the young lads in town were heading off to sea. My mother says to me, what will be, will be. Seek your fortune if you must, but please remember home, and let the lighthouse guide you back, however far you roam. Look for the lighthouse, look for the lighthouse, look for the lighthouse, let the lighthouse guide you home. Look for the lighthouse, look for the lighthouse, look for the lighthouse, let the lighthouse guide you home. The lighthouse, it was built so many years ago by everyone in town. The station high or low, the people came together and they worked both day and night. They made their common purpose the raising of the light. Look for the lighthouse, look for the lighthouse, look for the lighthouse, let the lighthouse guide you home. Look for the lighthouse. This song is called When the World Shut Down. When the world shut down, we finally could see clear across the mountains and clear across the seas. See the whole world as it ought to be. See the future
under lock and key. See a way to set the people free. That is what we found when the world shut down.
Hey, our guest on episode 26 of Songwriters Alive has been Jason Baker from Burlington, Vermont. Wonderful singer-songwriter. I'm so glad you got to hear his stuff. Follow him out on all the social media and his website. Make sure you reach out, get his music, acquire his music, and support him. And if you see him out and about, run up and say hi. He's just a great guy, as you can see, really low-key and a wonderful musician. Jason, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show.
Well, thank you so much. You've been so kind with your kind words about what I do, and you've been very accommodating. So I really appreciate it, and I've had a great time. I encourage other songwriters to send Tom your stuff and come on this show and share. It's a lot of fun.
Thank you. What were you thinking of taking us out with?
Well, instead of just doing my entire EP for you, I would figure you might want to, stream that for yourself online. I was going to play, since it's a songwriters thing, I was going to play a song that's not yet recorded, recorded and released yet, but it will be shortly. And so actually it should be within the next week or so, completely recorded. And it's about the heart of creativity itself, I think, the notion of play and creativity and where songwriting comes from to some extent. And where, the satisfaction of life comes from to some extent. It's called I Feel a Good One Coming On. And so I thought it would be something I'd like to dedicate to the people who will be listening to Songwriters Alive. This is to all you songwriters out there. It should be released on my next EP. I'm not sure what that's called yet, but this song is called I Feel a Good One Coming On. Mountain lake, skipping stones, get a feeling in the bones. I feel a good one coming on. Pick a flat one, let it fly, try to reach the other side. I feel a good one coming on. I feel a good one coming on. I feel a good one coming on. There's possibility in every rock and tree. I feel a good one coming on. Singing songs, feeling free. Make a new symphony. I feel a good one coming on. Big idea in the head, put it into hearts instead. I feel a good one coming on. I feel a good one coming on. I feel a good one coming on. Well, there's possibility in every melody. I feel a good one coming on. Light a flame, call the muse, shake your bones, sing the blues, playing games, taking chances, doing strange, enchanting dances. I feel a good one coming on. Say a prayer, sing amen, fail hard, try again. I feel a good one coming on. I feel a good one coming on. I feel a good one coming on. There's possibility in everything you see. I feel a good one coming on. There's possibility in everything you see. I feel a good one. I feel a good one. I feel a good one coming on. Thank you very much.
The breath of twilight caresses the air. The river mist hangs sweet and fair. The evening swallows, they whisper their tune, dancing on the moon. Why have the stars